Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be ranking every Byrds album, every Buffalo Springfield album, every U.S. Hollies album, and every album made by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Of course, talking about Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Uh, if you're reading the title, all the Byrds albums with Crosby in it. The three Buffalo Springfield albums, because all three of them had Stephen Stills in it, and the U.S. Hollies albums. I gotta when the video's finished, I gotta edit the ones with Graham Nash in it. But yeah, let's get this started. Coming in at number 23, the absolute worst of the worst, and yes, it sums up to 23 albums, is American Dream by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. And I'm not going to go too in depth on it, but all I got to say is that this album's a huge disappointment. After their amazing album, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young's Deja Vu, they don't make an album for over 10 years, like 18 years. They don't make an album, and then when they do make an album, it's this monstrosity of an album, and yeah, it's not good at all. Well, there are some good tracks on it. Well, the best track on the album, and the only song that I really would dig off of it is it's a song called Compass, and it's basically about David Crosby's addiction to drugs and how he sort of overcomes that, and just basically about the years he lost the drugs. And I always thought that was a really great song, and what a great song for a horrible album. Besides that, there's like 3 or 4 tracks I think is all right, but the rest is just downright horrible. I can't stand that album. So yeah, number 23, American Dream. Hey, how's it going, Jason? I thought I was thinking about doing this awesome album ranking, and I was going to do the duos, but then I would have to listen to all the duo records, and with the Crosby and Nash and Stephen Stills and Young, and I'm like, just gonna do all the band ones, and yeah. Oh, your time. Yeah, it's doing all the rankings, and it's all the albums. It's like 23 albums, and American Dream is at number 23. It's a horrible album. I don't like that album at all. There's one great song, 4 mediocre tracks, and then that's about it. It's horrible. Wouldn't recommend it to any upcoming fan of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Next album is the follow-up from American Dream. It isn't from Neil. It isn't the album after. It's just a regular Crosby, Stills, and Nash album. It's called "Live It Up," and you basically just call it the hot dog album. And yeah, this deserves a 22 spot because a lot of the tracks on this album is basically like the American Dream album. Some of them is way worse than the American Dream album, believe it or not. But there are some decent tracks on this album, though. If anybody had a heart, all right. Yours and Mine is actually pretty good. And After the Dolphins, actually a really great closing track. But there are some really awful tracks on this album that like take this album down a bunch of notches. Yeah. I'd say this is like, I wouldn't say it's a million times better than American Dream, but it's still a really not so good list album. It's not that good. Number 21 is the last album I'd say is pretty bad. It's called After the Storm, and it's Crosby, Stills, and Nash's last album. Well, their last album is the next one on the list, but which is with Young. But this is the last album with with just Crosby, Stills, and Nash as a name, and obviously it's gonna be it's the last album in general for them because Crosby passed away, and it's still a not so good of a listen. It's not. There are still tracks that make me scratch my head. It's not the first album of the '90s, but it's the second one in the '90s, and so far they're proving that their '90s sound isn't that good. Only Way for You is pretty dreadful Find a Dream is also dreadful. Camera and Unequal Love is actually they're actually really good songs. Till It Shines is mediocre. It Won't Go Away is These Empty Days is not that bad. In My Life is great though. The last four tracks I don't like at all though. So there are some really good moments on this. This is still I'd consider to be, like I said, a bad album, but we're getting there though. We're getting there. Number 20 is the very last Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young album, and this is just the last album in general. Looking Forward, and you know what? This is where we're starting to get to mediocre albums. Like it's not bad, but we're still not getting there yet. Faith in Me was all right. Looking Forward is actually really great. Standing Be Counted, Heartland, and Seen Enough is actually three great, just amazing songs. Slowpoke and Dream of for him is all right. No Tears Left is an amazing track. Out of Control, Someday Soon, and Queen of the Mall is mediocre, and Sanibel is, I'd say, it's a decent way of ending off Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. It's wouldn't say it's the greatest thing I'll ever be listening to, but it's a decent way of closing them out. Well, those first four I don't own them on vinyl, but this number 19 spot I do own the vinyl record of. Number 19 is Here I Go Again, which is the Hollies' very first record, well, very first U.S. record. If you're British, their very first album is "Stay with the Hollies." Yeah, there are some really dreadful songs on this album too. This is another mediocre album for me. It does have a really good hit single. Here I Go Again, Stay, Just One Look, Keep Off of That Friend of Mine. Like those four songs are great, but It's Only Make Believe is a decent song. Rockin' Robin's good. And that's about it with all my compliments. Memphis and Lucille, I Could Take or Leave. You Better Move On is dreadful. Same with Talking About You. Talking About You is just mediocre. If you're listening to the stereo version, it's dreadful. Do You Love Me is all right. What Kind of Girl Are You is just downright crappy. I don't like that song at all. Oh yeah, number 19. My number 18 is going to be an album called 5D. Garrett, I know you're going to be a little upset from this pick because I know you really enjoyed this album, but I have to say this album's very front loaded. The first side's great though. I will say 5D, great song. Wild Mountain Time, great. Mr. Spaceman, I adore. I See You is pretty good. What's Happening, very first Crosby lead sung track is great. I Come and Stand at Every Door is an amazing track. Like, wow, what a fantastic way of starting off the record. First song on the second side's amazing though. 8 Miles High, but after that, this album just sort of takes a big dip for the worst after that song. And Hey Joe is mediocre. Captain Soul, I don't like at all. It's just a very boring instrumental track. John Riley is very boring too, and 242 Foxtrot is just a really, really bad way to end off an album. Really, really bad. I don't like that at all. I know Gary likes that track, but yeah, I don't like it. Coming in at number 17 is another Byrds album, Turn, Turn, Turn. Again, this isn't a bad album. Another sort of mediocre album. My problem isn't that it's front loaded. It's just it has an amazing track, Turn, 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 the title track, and the other 10 songs are good, but they just feel like it just sounds like songs that they wrote and record for. Well, not all of them were written, but it sounds like an album that they made off of the Mr. Tambourine album songs, and they just took the rejected songs from there and made an album out of it. Won't Be Wrong is good. So You're Free, This Time Is Me is all right. Lay Down Your Weary Tune's a great song. Same with He Was a Friend of Mine. Those are two great songs. The World Turns All Around Her is good. Satisfy Mind and If You're Gone is alright. The Times They Are Changing is an alright Bob Dylan cover. Wait and See I actually quite like. And, Oh Susanna actually one of my favorites off the album. I think it was my second favorite or favorite off the album. I actually quite like it. I know Briars and wasn't a fan of that track, but I actually quite like it. Number 16, uh, Bus Stop. Uh, second, well, not their second album, but yeah, this is their fourth U.S. album, and this is like I consider this to be like what like what Beatle fans consider, well, not Beatle fans, but like the Beatles yesterday and today. This is like kind of like that. It's like their yesterday and today album. Except it's sort of like that. Has Bus Stop, obviously, the great hit single off of this album. Great song. Then the album just goes really downhill. Candyman, me and Garrett don't like that song at all, and yeah, it's a horrible song. But it does get better though. Baby That's All's great. I Am a Rock, amazing. Sweet Little 16 is all right. We're Through is great. Don't Run and Hide, Oriental Sadness, Mickey's Monkey. I love Mickey's Monkey. Pretty sure you also like that too, Jason. Will Lover and he did it are just all right tracks. What You Gotta Do About It is not that good. Not a really strong way to end off an album. But yes, still sort of in the mediocrity, but. Oh, Suzanne was my least favorite on the album. Turn will be higher on my list. Yeah, I could see why Turn would be higher on your list. It's good, but yeah. I do like that song. Though it's a funny title. Yeah, it is a funny title. It's still I love that track. Number 15. Here's where the album starts to get a little better. Still not fantastic, but number 15 is going to go to an album that is what I could like. If you ask me what Crosby, Stills and Nash what Crosby, Stills and Nash Young should have sounded like on their American Dream album, it's this album, Daylight Again. This is what Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young's American Dream should have sounded like. Yeah, what a good album. It's number 15 for a reason. It's number 15 for a reason, but I mean not. Oh, this is my number 14 spot. Oh, sorry about that. Still a good album though, but my number 15 spot is actually a Buffalo Springfield album. Sorry about that, people who are watching. Well, Jason's watching live, but whoever's watching the replay, sorry about that. The real number 15 is Buffalo Springfield's last album called Last Time Around. And this album is half good, half not so good. So, yeah. On the Way Home's an amazing opening track. It's So Hard to Wait is great. Pretty Girl Why is great. The first four songs are great. Great way to start off the album. I actually thought this would have been my favorite Buffalo Springfield album, but the last two songs on the first side aren't that. I'm not crazy about it. The Hour of Not Quite Rain is all right. Questions is good. I'm a Child's good. Merry-Go-Round's great. But then the last two songs sort of go downhill. So we're like the great songs are great, but then like the not so good songs really bring it down. So yeah. Okay, now for the real. Okay, now let's talk about Daylight. Neil left the group, I think, by then. Yeah, he left the group, but he was like going on and off with Buffalo Springfield at the time. Like he was going off, he was on, off. Like it's weird. He was going off and off. Like the first album he was on it, the self-titled, but Buffalo Springfield again, he was sort of like going off and on a little bit on. But then like the third album, he was just really like he didn't know whether he wanted to stay on that album or not. Yeah. He was on. He wrote a couple of songs for the album, I think. Not sure. I could be wrong though. Okay, now for the real number 14. Now for Daylight again. Now it's real placement. Number 14. I do think this sounds better because has one of my favorite Crosby, Stills and Nash songs, Southern Cross. I believe you know that, Jason. I'm not sure, but I think it's a great song. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. This whole album's worth listening, even though it's number 14 on the list. Turning Back on Love is good. Wasted on the Way is amazing. Southern Cross is easily the best song on the album. Into the Darkness is really good. Delta is really good. Since I Met You is decent. Too Much Love to Hide is good. Song for Suzanne is decent. You Are Alive is good. Might As Well Have a Good Time is great. The title track is brilliant. So there isn't any weaker tracks, but yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know if you agree with me when I say that, Jason, that like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young's American Dream should have sounded something at least a little similar to that. Like if I'm thinking of an album with Neil Young in it, like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, I picture something similar to that album. But imagine if it was similar to that, but like if with Neil Young's like twist on it. But who knows? We never got a great album out of American Dream. That's one of the reasons why I put it at number 23 too. Is we know that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young is capable of making a great 80s album, but alas, they didn't. Okay. Sorry for that little tangent. Number 13 is going back to the 60s. Beat Group. Yeah. This is their US version of their Would You Believe album from the UK, if you're from Britain. There are some US exclusives, such as A Taste of Honey. That was never on any of the Crosby. It was never on any of the Hollies albums, A Taste of Honey, and that's a shame because I really like A Taste of Honey, their version of it. Same with Running Through the Night. That wasn't on the UK version. But rather than that, all the UK tracks that were, well, besides Mr. Moonlight as well, most of the tracks from Would You Believe are on here. It starts off with the hit single I Can't Let Go, which starting off with a strong song. Speaking of strong, That's How Strong My Love is brilliant. I wouldn't say brilliant. I'm thinking about the Rolling Stones version. I think the Rolling Stones version is brilliant. The Hollies version is good, though. Running Through the Night is great. It's the B-side to I Can't Let Go. Oriental Sadness is this I'm gonna say with full confidence. I think that song's brilliant. Taste of Honey, I already went over. Great cover. Mr. Moonlight, pretty good. Definitely one of the better songs off of Stay With the Hollies. And I know Garrett's not going to agree with that, but compared to the other not so good songs on Stay With the Hollies, it's not bad. Don't Even Care is really good. Hard Year is amazing. Take Your Time is great. Fifi the Flea is definitely the strongest song on the album. Graham Nash singing by himself, like it's just him and his acoustic guitar, and I believe it's great. And it ends off with the I Take What I Want, which it's a great opener for Would You Believe, but it's an all right way to end off an album. I wouldn't consider it to be a great closer track. Number 12 is an album that I was just talking about with Jason on the group chat that we have, and that's CSN. Yeah, what a fantastic record! I was listening to this record again. It was years since I listened to it for the first time. I thought it was a good album. I thought it was a good album. I said it was better than the debut at first, but then I was listening to the strong songs on the debut, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to give the debut an extra notch. But yeah. Shadow Captain, great song. See the Change is one of my favorites. Definitely in my top 5. Carried Away is great. Fair Game is great. Anytime at All is great. Cathedral, oh my God. Definitely my second favorite off. It's either my second or my third favorite off CSN. That's how good the Cathedral is. Dark Star, another great song. Just a song before I go. Another great song. when Jason told me that was his two favorites, just a song before I go and see the changes. I'm like, I have to agree. Those songs are great. Those Cathedral, just a song before I go and see the changes. Those three songs are definitely my favorites. Run from Tears is great. Cold Rain is great. In My Dreams is really good. And I give you Give Blind. That was a weird one, weird name. But yeah, what a fantastic album. I yeah, what a really good album. Amazing. I just happen to think the next 11 are better, just slightly. Maybe if I listen to this album another time, it's gonna slip into the top 10 for sure. What a great album. Love it. Number 11 uh, is gonna be if you live in England, it's the Hollies self-titled album. But if you live in the United States, here is the album I'm going to be referring to as my number 11 spot. Some people might be thinking, why would you rank this over CSN, even though you're raving over that? And there are two songs that I'm not crazy about on this album. First one is Down the Line. I'm not crazy about that. It also has a song called actually no, just one song because they got rid of it. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking Fortune Teller. That's on the UK version. Besides that one song, just about every song on this album is great. My only problem with this album is that they took off Mickey's Monkey, which they ended up putting it on Bus Stop, which I mean it helps Bus Stop, but it would have been better if they would have taken out Down the Line and replaced it with Mickey's Monkey. It would have been a perfect album. It does have some of my favorite Hollies hits on it. I'm Alive and Look Through Any Window. Those two songs are just great. Like I'll never get tired of those two tracks alone. The Very Last Day is very good. We were talking about it. Me and Jason were talking about it when we were talking about Simon and Garfunkel with the religion theme of their songs, and I always thought that this song was cool. Even though it's a cover, I still think it's kind of cool that the Hollies would sing a song like "The Very Last Day." I think it's a really cool song. You Must Believe Me is great. Put Yourself in My Place is awesome. That's My Desire is amazing. I already went over Look Through Any Window. Lottie Miss Claudie is a great rocker. When I Come Home to You is great. So Lonely. What an amazing Byrds-esque track. You could definitely tell Graham Nash was really into the Byrds at this time, and you could definitely. Well, you can't. People might be like, "Oh, how do you know it's Graham Nash?" But I could tell this was definitely Graham Nash being like, "Hey, let's." Because I know he was friends with Crosby at this time, so yeah. I know Graham Nash was visited Crosby a couple of times, and I know Graham Nash was like, oh, we should do a Byrds-esque track, and yeah, So Lonely, what a great track. I've Been Wrong is another great track, and Too Many People is very, very good. A lot of great deep cuts on this album. I will say the highlights on CSN I do like a little better than the Here album, but overall I for some reason always preferred it. Well, like I said, maybe if I hear CSM a couple more times, it'll place into the top 10. Or not even the top 10, but like place higher than that one. Well, here we get to the top 10, and here's where the albums become, well, really good to like these 10 are really great albums. These next 5 are really great, and then the next 5 after that is perfection to me. But this number 10 album is Crosby, Stills, Nash. What a great album. All the love this album got, like the sales, the records, like all deserved. What a fantastic record. It just the only thing is that like the 9 albums that come after this, it just happens to be personal preference. Honestly, it's Sweet Judy Blue Eyes start off with an amazing track. Marrakesh Express, I love. Guinevere has grown on me. That would be number 1. I could see why. Like I said, it's a brilliant album. It's like it's number 10 for a reason. Guinevere's is a good song, and not a strong song, but it's still good. It's still an album that I quite dig. Uh, you Don't Have to Cry is actually really good. Pre Road Downs is great. Wooden Ships is good. Lady of the Island is amazing. Helplessly Hoping, definitely becoming one of my favorites off the album. It was in my top five when I it was at least in my top five when I did the review with Garrett, Breyer, and Jason, but it's starting to become in my top two at least now. Long Time Gone and 49 Bye Byes. Still, I'm not the craziest fan of. Like, still not the strongest two, and sadly, it just closes out the album like that. And I'm like, oh man, what a shame, because still good tracks. Like, it's a perfect album, but I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's every second isn't wasted on it, because there are parts of it I'm not crazy about. Number nine is an album by the Byrds. Yeah, I know I haven't mentioned the Byrds in a while, but yeah, that's how good these next three albums are by them. Number nine for me is going to be Mr. Tambourine Man, and what a fantastic track, man. Obviously, the title track is great. I Feel a Whole Lot Better is great. Spanish Harlem Incident's amazing. You won't have to cry is great. Here Without You is really good. The Bells of Rimney is amazing. All I really want to do is great. I Knew I'd Want You and It's No Use are good tracks, but definitely I wouldn't consider them filler at all. Just like two songs I'm not the craziest fans of compared to the rest of the album. Don't Doubt Yourself, Babe is great. Chimes of Freedom is brilliant. And it closes out decent with We'll Meet Again. But yeah. Number 8 on my list is another album I don't own, but I really want to own. It's by Buffalo Springfield, and it's called, well, aptly named Buffalo Springfield. Um, for what it's worth, what a great freaking song to open up the album. Well, technically there's two versions of it. There's a version, the original pressing, that starts with Go and Say Goodbye, but I'm gonna go by the reissued version with the hit single off of it. For What It's Worth is great. Go and Say Goodbye is great. Sit Down. I think I love the first side. The whole first side's great. Nowadays, Clancy Can't Sing. Hot Dusty Roads. Everybody's Wrong. The first side is flawless to me. Side 2 has some of my favorite Buffalo Springfield songs, Burned and Out of My Mind. Like, if you ask me to rate my top 5 favorite songs off Buffalo Springfield, number 2 would be Burned, and number 1 would be Out of My Mind. My only problem, I wouldn't say a problem, my only thing why it's at number 9, number 8, is that Pay the Price and Leave sort of devalue the album a little bit, but there's still decent tracks. Same with Do I Have to Come Right Out and Say It? That's a decent track, but not one of my favorites. Like, those 3 songs sort of bring the album down a tiny bit, but it's still good. But Flying on the Ground Is Wrong is one of my all-time favorite Buffalo Springfield songs. Yeah. So half the album is half the second side's great, but then half the second side is just all right. Okay, it's crazy the original didn't have For What It's Worth. I could only listen to the version. I love Out of My Mind. Yeah, For What It's Worth is my third favorite song on the album. I love that. I'm not gonna be like I'm not always anti-hit songs, and I don't do it on purpose either. For What It's Worth is probably my third favorite. You're not if the lowest on my top 5 is my 5th favorite. That's a great song. Very great anti-war song. Coming in at number 8, this album smidges out Buffalo Springfield's debut. It's Buffalo Springfield again. This album just barely smidges it out, because to me there's no filler on the second album, but the strongs on this album aren't nearly as strong as the strongs on the first album, but that's just how I go by. Is just like oh, it's just a great listen, like from first song to last song, and all 10 of these songs are brilliant. I really like it. Mr. Soul is amazing. What a fantastic another. I might have to check out Neil Young's solo albums because almost everything Neil Young produced around like the 60s and the 70s I really like Deja Vu, Buffalo Spring, the two main Buffalo Springfield albums he was on. Like he wrote some of my favorite songs for Buffalo Springfield and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. A Child's Claim to Fame is great. Every Days is another great song by by another great song by Stephen Stills. Expecting to Fly, like, oh man, what a fantastic Neil Young track. Like, oh man, what a awesome song. Bluebird is decent. Probably one of my least favorite songs by Stephen Stills. It's still great on the album though. Hung Upside a Dream is great. Stephen Stills track. Brought him back up below. Sad Memory, one of my all-time favorite, like it would definitely be my top 5 favorite Buffalo Springfield tracks, Sad Memory, and my 3 favorite tracks off this album is Mr. Soul, Expecting to Fly, and Sad Memory. Those 3 songs are just amazing. Good Time Boy is it's a funny little track. It's sung by their drummer. It's still a fun little track though. Rock and Roll Woman though is great. Another amazing Stephen Stills track, and Broken Arrow is a very epic way to end off the album. Another amazing Neil Young track. It starts off with like a live rendition of Mr. Soul, but then it's one of those tracks you gotta listen to for yourself. But all I gotta say is that this album is really epic. Like I said, the highs on Buffalo Springfield's debut album are higher than this album, but yeah. Number 6, Evolution by the Hollies. Yeah. What a fantastic record. If I was going by the UK albums, this would be my number 1 spot. But Carrie Ann, Stop Right There, Rain on the Window, Then the Heartaches Begin, Ye Old Toffee Shop. Those 4 or 5 songs are amazing. Then the second side is like You Need Love, Heading for a Fall, Games We Play, Low by a 10, which it's not the best of tracks, but it's still good in the context of Evolution, and Have You Ever Loved Somebody, which what a fantastic way to end off this album. And Garrett went as far as to say it's his favorite Hollies track, so take that as you will. Number 5, though, this album definitely deserves to be in the top 5 for sure. Notorious Byrd Brothers. Yeah, number 5. What a brilliant album. Artificial Energy, Going Back, Natural Harmony, Draft Morning, Wasn't Born to Follow, and Get You. Those 7 tracks alone make it worth in the top 10 at least. But the second side does just as good on it. Changes Now is great. Space Odyssey is brilliant. Dolphin Smile, which is good. Tribal Gatherings is good. And Old John Robertson's a great track. I forgot how I said it in the review, but I don't think I highly regarded the second side as much as the first side, but the second side is really good too. So, yeah. Number 4, Dear Eloise, King Midas in Reverse. What a fantastic record. Just going to go off right away to saying the highlights. Dear Eloise, Charlie and Fred. Not Charlie and Fred. But Dear Eloise, Butterfly, Leave Me, Postcard, King Midas in Reverse, Would You Believe, Away, Away, Away. And this is every song of this album is great. From first song to last song. You don't get a single weak moment on this album, in my opinion. Maybe Maker, but even then, I really like that song. Number 3, Stop, Stop, Stop. Or for certain, because if you live in the UK, I mean, to be honest, this album is basically just the UK version, but like repackaged. Uh, What's wrong with the way I live? Pay you back with interest. Tell me to my face. Clown. Suspicious look in your eyes. It's you. Those six songs are brilliant. High class. Peculiar situation. What went wrong? Crusader. Those four songs are amazing as well. Don't even think about changing is a decent track, but it's not a track that I would ever that I usually go back to unless I'm listening to the full album. Stop, stop, stop. The album track, the title track. Oh man, what a great hit song. Definitely deserved to be the hit song off the album. What a great song. Number two is definitely good. This album. It was Chris Cross whether it was going to be this or Stop, 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 but ultimately I thought the my least favorite from both albums. I kind of thought about those, but I'm like, my least favorite on this album isn't. I don't know. Not only that, but the highs on this album I feel are better than the highs on Stop, Stop, Stop. Younger Than Yesterday. Fantastic, fantastic record. So you want to be a rock and roll star? Have you seen her face? CTA 102, Renaissance Fair, Time Between, Everybody's Been Burned. Those six songs are amazing. And then you flip over to the second side, you get Thoughts and Words, Mind Gardens, My Back Pages, which I love. The Girl with No Name is my least favorite, but that was sort of what I was going by. Like the least favorite on this one isn't. I wouldn't say it's bad, but my least favorite. I prefer that song over Don't Ever Think About Changing. And why? Amazing song. Okay, before I get into my number one spot. Yeah, I already went over that. Those U.S. Hollies don't count. Which ones? All of them, or is there a particular some of them that don't count? I don't know. Well, this is my list, so if whatever Hollies albums that don't count, just exclude them, and then that could be whatever you interpret my list to be. It's fine though. Don't count. Okay. Well, my number one spot is going to an album that I really love. I really quite liked it when I first listened to it. But when me, Jason, and Breyer and all that, we did a review on Crosby, Stills and Nash album. I said to myself, well, I think this album's better than I've remembered, the debut album I'm talking about. And I'm like, I gotta check out Deja Vu again. I gotta check this album out again. Maybe there's something missing. And oh boy, was there something I'm missing? This album, oh my god, Deja Vu deserves the number one spot for this. This is a perfect album. Well, my top five, I think they're all perfect albums. Like they all have good tracks on it. Oh, I'm joking. I just know the original UK albums. They sure had a string of classics. Oh yeah, the UK albums. Yeah, I was referring to all the UK albums. Like here I go again to the US version of Stay with the Hollies. Here is the US version of the self-titled album. Beat Group is basically the US version of Would You Believe. Bus Stop is basically their Yesterday and Today album. Stop, Stop, Stop is basically For Certain Because but repackaged. Because it's like the same. It's the same album, same track listing, except with the different album cover. Don't get that. And Evolution is just a butchered version of the UK version, which Dear Eloise is basically just Butterfly, and that's better for the US. Well, they made a couple more US albums, like 3 more US Hollies albums, but I'm sort of in your group with the UK. I always prefer the UK Hollies versions. Well, besides here, I prefer the UK versions. Going back to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Deja Vu. Starts off with one of my favorite songs of all time. Well, 2 songs I just absolutely adore. Carry On, amazing track. Teach Your Children, what a fantastic track that is. Almost Cut My Hair, fantastic Crosby track. Helpless, amazing Neil Young track. Like I said, Neil Young from Buffalo Springfield to now, you just everything he wrote for them is just classic. Not like hits, but like oh, just like very good. Uh, Woodstock, which is an amazing track, wasn't written by them, written by Joni Mitchell, but still they made it their own. Really, what a fantastic track. Side two, Deja Vu. Oh my god, what a fantastic track that is. Then you get another amazing Graham Nash track, Our House, and 4+20. Oh man, I love 4+20. Country Girl, which is a 5-minute track, and it's really good. Another amazing Neil Young uh, written track, and Everybody I Love You. What a fantastic way to end off the album. Yeah, love this album. Love it. There's your top five. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Nash, number one. Mr. Tambourine Man, number two. Deja Vu, number three. CSN, at number four. Daylight Again, at number five. Great list. Yeah, I love Deja Vu. This album is just I don't know every track on it. I've always like every track like it's just to me it sounds like a greatest hits album. I know all of them weren't hits. Like if Ohio was on this, like it would have really elevated the album. Even though it was recorded afterwards. Oh man, I cannot imagine how great this album would have been if Ohio was on it. Oh, man, who knows? Still doesn't need it, but it would have been great if it was on it. But that's my album ranking. I put it in the title an epic ranking because I remember Garrett making a comment being like, "Oh, this is going to be an epic ranking because one of the Hollies albums I'll showcase it on. They are on Daylight Again. Hold on. Number 5 is the Hollies were on Epic Records, and yeah. Daylight Again in your top 5. You're crazy. Maybe in the top 30, but top 5. Well, technically, well, this is 23 albums. In the list, I'm assuming he only knows those 5 albums. Well, this is just his top 5 from the albums that are on this list. I love Daylight Again. Daylight Again is a great album. But yeah, I placed that at number 14. But yeah, wow, 43 minutes. I wasn't expecting this to be this long. I guess I really went in detail on some of that. But yeah, all I gotta say is to anyone who's never listened to Deja Vu before, all you gotta get out of this is listen to this album. Of course, listen to my top 10. The ones first thing that I recommend you listen to the top 10 ones, but there's one album that I definitely, especially would say you would get out of. It's definitely Deja Vu. That album is it's on a different stratosphere compared to the other 22 albums. I know I don't like. I usually don't like saying it. I don't use it loosely, but Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young's Deja Vu is on a different level of greatness. Yeah. But that should wrap up the video. Thank you, Zeb, for joining me on my video. Same with you, Jason, the old millennial. It was nice having you on. Well, not like on the channel, but it was nice having you comment throughout the way on the live chat. Always appreciate that. You're never gonna hear me complain about that. Of course, I'm trying to draw out time so I can make a 45-minute long video, but a little weird for me. But yeah, thank you a lot, guys, and thank you for the people who are going to be watching my replay. And Hope you guys have a good one, and see you guys in the next video. So long.